Do you need it? Yes. It's an integral part of your spiritual life to acknowledge that God is God and I am not. Do you need to be here to do that? No, you don't need to be here to do that. Do you just do it for 1 hour a week? No. In view of God's mercy, I urge you, brothers, to offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do you do that just 3 times a week? How often are you supposed to be a living sacrifice? Every day. You know what you need to do that, though? Courage. Reminders. Subtle hints. You know what we're supposed to do for each other? We're supposed to give each other the courage to live a life that is a living sacrifice. That's what we're supposed to do. When we come in here, we had this debate on Gary, why do you want the pews angled like that? People really bother that. Why don't you just send them forward? I said, well, you know what? It's easier to look at the people over there who are singing when you're singing, when it's angled. You know why? Because some of the songs you sing are supposed to encourage them. Some of those songs are supposed to give them courage. Is it okay to look at the person you're trying to give courage to? To acknowledge that, yeah, you're over there. Right? I'm not just singing because I have the best voice. I know there's some debate about that. I sing because I want you to take this message with you every day, to give the courage that when you run into those problems, when you're struggling with your sinful nature, I remember how I felt. I felt this Sunday that I could do it this week. Today I could do it, and I know, and I remember. It's about each other. It's about relationships. That's why we're not sterile, facing forward, doing our thing. Right? Your spiritual worship goes on every day, or it does not go on every day. I remember the debate about Sunday nights. Do you remember that? You guys are anything old enough about that? About getting credit for Sunday night? Right? Because you go on Sunday morning, you go to class, and then you come back on Sunday nights, you know? And half the congregation didn't come back. And you figure you must have some credits built up. My mom would call me and she said, well, you know, I wasn't feeling good to go to church. I said, Mom, you got lots of credits. I remember those Sunday nights. Okay. Is that what we're here for, is credit? No, we're here for relationships. We're here to give each other the courage. We desire to remember how much Jesus sacrificed for us, how much that God loves us, how much we feel loved by each other, accepted and forgiven by each other. We desire those things in our relationships so that every day we can live a life that's a worship. A lot of churches are making hay about worship and praise. And that was the focus. And they come and they sing, and those things are very encouraging. But you know what? That is not worship. Offering your body as a living sacrifice is your spiritual service, your worship. And then he says something really amazing. He says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. Now, if I am right, then Paul has mentioned somewhere the pattern of this world in chapters 1 through 12, right? Remember in chapter 1 when he talked about that downward spiral? When he said, although they knew God, they neither glorified as God nor gave thanks, and their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened, and God let them go. He says, don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You want to be transformed? Think differently. That's what he said. There are some of us out here who have not had a new thought in 30 years. Do you want to try that one on and wear it? Not a new thought. Maybe you haven't had a new thought in 5 years. Maybe this whole last year you went through without a new thought. Now, maybe there was no renewing of your mind. Maybe you figure you had it all figured out. You got it all. I don't have to think any differently. This is what my parents thought. This is what my grandparents thought. You know how it usually fleshes out? This is how my parents did it. This is how my grandparents did it. This is how the church has always done it. That's how it fleshes out. No new thinking at all. Just no. The renewing of your mind, you get stuck and have you thought anything different? Have you viewed yourself in any different way this last year than 08? I'm going to challenge you in 09 to do some renewing of your mind. Maybe you need to think about God differently. Maybe you've got God all figured out. Maybe you haven't thought a new thought about God since you were in kindergarten. Or since you were in high school at your first youth camp. Maybe you haven't allowed your thinking to change at all about your Creator. Maybe you can't worship. Maybe your God isn't holy. Maybe your God's like you. And you assume that God thinks the way I think, acts the way I act, forgives the people I forgive, accepts the people I accept, loves the people I love. Therefore, brothers, I urge you in view of God's mercy to offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. You want to know what God's will is for you? You have no clue until you stop conforming anymore to the pattern of this world and start thinking a new way. Then you will know. Then you will be able to test. Is this what really God... Does God really want me to forgive this person? What a thought. Does God really want me to accept this person? Am I really supposed to love this person? Wow. New thoughts. A transforming of your mind. Because God is God and you're not. God is holy and He doesn't think like you. He doesn't act like you. He doesn't react like you. And if you think you know what God's will is, think again. And be willing to think in a new way. A renewal. A transformation. What a challenge for us for 09. To think in a new way. To think some new ideas about God. To think new ideas about what we're supposed to be doing as a congregation. Why we get together. Why we have suppers on Wednesday night. Why we have Bible study. Why we meet when we meet. Why we meet the way we meet. Why we dress the way we dress. Why we do the things we do. Why we sing the things we sing. Why? Can we test and approve those things? Can we think a new way? I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is your spiritual worship. Don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed in your thinking and renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to approve and test what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Also went a long way to get us to Romans chapter 12. And He's not going to let go of us yet. But in order to understand the rest of Romans, you need to ask yourself, can I think in a new way? Can I think new thoughts about God? What He wants? How much He has mercy on me? How much He really loves me? And encourage each other to do that this year. I hope it's going to be a great year. I hope it's not just, the highlight is, hey, we got new pews. They're more comfortable to sleep in, aren't they? Some of you are out there going, yeah, everything is. Okay. Now, hopefully that's not going to be the highlight. Hopefully we can look back and say, this is the year that, that we got some new people to love and to accept and to encourage. This is the year that we challenged ourselves to think in new ways that we've never thought of before. This is the year we decided to let God be God.